My skin, ebony color, beautiful. Deep, rich mahogany, color, beautiful. Mocha chocolate brown, color, beautiful. Tan, color, beautiful. Sun-kissed, color, beautiful. I am the color of beautiful. So beautiful. I am so beautiful. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. When I behold my reflection, I see beautiful. My eyes are beautiful. When I look at them, my mind sees beautiful. My hair is beautiful, dark like the black night in Tunisia, soft like lamb's wool. A crown fit for the beauty of a queen. It remains to be seen how so much beauty gleams from my hair, my dark skin, so beautiful. I am the color of beautiful. So beautiful. The color of beautiful.
Dark and lovely, I am the color of beautiful. Wonderfully made, the color of beautiful. God made me beautiful. I am so when you look at me, what do you see? The color of beautiful. When you walk my way, what do you say? I'm the color of beautiful. My black skin, my full lips, my brown eyes, my round lips, beautiful. Ebony, mahogany, sun-kissed, just look at me. I am so beautiful.
I stand in my space, the color of beautiful. When I look at my face, the color of beautiful. In every place, covered in God's grace, every dream I chase, no longer displaced, disgraced, or misplaced. I just embrace that I am the color of beautiful.
Take it to the next level.
Welcome, beautiful people. We are live now. Beautiful color conversations. We had some technical difficulties, but we are good to go. We are live. We are so excited about our show today. I'm Dr. Karen Moore. I am the founder of I Am the Color of Beautiful, global spoken word initiative and movement. We are globally redefining the standard of beauty for women of color. And we are so glad that you are here with us today. Today, We are talking about colorism and mental health. We have to begin to understand that colorism can affect our mental health. And I'm so glad to be bringing on now my co host, Sir Dr. Clyde Rivers, and our special guest today, Dr. Kathy Barton Brown. I am so glad to have you all with us today. I know you had a few challenges, Dr. Kathy, but we are so glad to see you here this morning.
Okay, can you? I can hear you, but can you see me?
Yes, I can see you and hear you.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yes.
I thank you so much for having me on, and it is absolutely a connection between colorism and mental health. And in this time, we're going to walk through some things that are definitely going to make a change in the people that are listening.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So let me read the bio for Dr. Kathy Barton Brown. Dr. Kathy Barton Brown, MSW, LMSW, ACSW, PhD, is a licensed psychotherapist who has been in the mental health field for over 35 years. She attended the University of Michigan and graduated in 1985. After working in the field for 5 years, she was inspired to go back to school. Attending Wayne State was a life changing experience. In May 1993, she graduated from Wayne State. Kathy united with Dr. Reuben West in March 2017. She was published in 2017 with Dr. West in Live Your Best Life, The Time Is Now. In October 2017, she received a PhD in humanities from United Graduate Seminary. She has been in private practice for the past 14 years. Her motto is inspiring people to help themselves. Once a month, she is a regular guest on WFLT African American Inspiration, encouraging the African American community to be aware of their emotional and mental health and teaching about mental health diagnoses. Every Friday, she hosts conversations about love, life, and relationships where people are educated on issues that can crumble a relationship. Kathy has been in broadcasting for over 40 years and thoroughly enjoys media as a tool to promote her platform, reversing the curse of dysfunctional relationships. Additionally, she is an adjunct professor at Baker College, where she passionately instructs students of all ages to overcome the challenges of finding their divine purpose and walking in it. Kathy is the proud mother of two young ladies who are Karina, 15, and Kayla, 21. Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Kathy. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Thank you, Dr. Rivers. It's good to be
Yes,
here.
it's great to have you here. So, um, Dr. Kathy, if you'd like to start off by telling us, have you found that you've had issues of colorism? What has been your experience with colorism?
Unfortunately, but fortunately, at the age of 12 years old, I had an incident in my family. And I never knew that there was colorism in my family until this incident. I was with three of my cousins, and we were at the swimming pool at one of the relatives' house. And we were all playing as teenage girls will do. And I accidentally pushed in my one cousin. And that particular cousin was the only one that could not swim. And so immediately I jumped in to save her because I knew that she couldn't swim. Well, in jumping in to save her, I panicked. And so I started to drown. And my other cousin literally grabbed me by my hair and pulled me to the side. Fortunately, no one perished that day. But what happened afterwards literally killed a part of me because I was accused of trying to kill that cousin because she was lighter than me. I had never considered color in our relationship at all. But because she was lighter than me, prettier than me, and smaller than me, I tried to kill her at 12 years old. And there was a family meeting where I was sat on the floor with all these adult women, including my grandmother, my mother, and that child's mother as well. And the only person that stood up in my defense was my mother. But what it did on the inside of me was it cut me off from all of that side of the family,
Mm.
because I felt that if they felt that way, if that's how they thought about me, that even at 12 years old, I didn't want to be around them anymore. And so it made a big change in me. And so I took on a different mindset. And my mindset became, I love people that are chocolate. And to the point that I prayed and
Mm.
asked the Lord to give me a chocolate baby. And he did. But
Wow.
it completely turned my perception of me. I never even thought of me in color, but that was the perception that they had. So it created these barriers in me with like long hair and people who, I began to look at people differently. Do people not like me because, and I'm not even somebody that you would call dark complected, but if that's how people think, then I want to go about the world making a difference. How can I empower people who feel that their dark complexion has caused them to be isolated or marginalized? So since I was 12 years old, I sought out friends who were dark complected just so I could love on them and build them, because I knew what it was like to be ostracized or even have someone think that low of you because of a color. Thank you.
Wow. And I think that I know for so many of us, those encounters stay with us for many, 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 many years. For some of us, for decades. We live with
Mhm.
those experiences. So how did you begin to overcome that issue that you were having? What brought you to a place where you were able to overcome those feelings?
I have to thank God for assigning Carol Ann Barton as my mother, because she was phenomenal. She stood up in that room with those women who were all people that she loved, and she berated them for how dare they take something so innocent and make it something so mean, and make it something criminal in nature. And so not only did I stop going around them, she did too. And she empowered me on every chance that she got. I mean, it was, my hair was, everything about me was beautiful. And she told
Mhm.
me that every single day. She told me that I was fearfully and wonderfully made. And because of that,
Yes.
I don't have to look like anyone else. I don't have to be like anyone else. And she embraced that scripture for herself. I still remember us being young and being out on the beach, and my mom had thunder thighs. She'd put her swim on, and she'd be right out there on the beach having fun with us just like anyone else. So she knew how to overcome her own challenges when it came to self-esteem and image. But she completely restored my self-image and built me to the place that I was comfortable in who I am.
That's amazing, and that's wonderful that you had a mother to do that.
Yeah, that's and you know what as you're talking, Dr. Kathy Brown, you're one of the
People look at us and they don't know the story. Yes.
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dr. Rivers.
I said Kathy Barton Brown is one of the great people of the world. I'm telling you, we are so happy to have you here. And what I want to say is, it's almost like there's a school of conformity that people have just accepted that
Mm-hmm.
knowledge as being true, and it's throughout. It's so pervasive that the actual darker the color of the skin, people do view people differently. I see it when I travel the world. I see it when I'm in countries where the people are the same color and there's issues. I see it in countries where people are different colors, and I'm just like, man,
Mm-hmm.
this actual system of conformity is a horrible thing.
It is, and one of the things that I think is so important is that many
It,
times our mothers and our grandmothers are the ones who really instill in us
mhm.
either positive or negative about our skin color. Many times the grandmothers and mothers are many times the ones who sometimes call children names that are not good to call them, but we as grandmothers and we as mothers have to
Mhm.
begin to understand our role in making our children feel good about their skin. We really have to begin to understand our role in that.
Right. My grandmother, I didn't know up until that time that my grandmother was very color stricken, to the point that my younger cousin cut the heads off of all of her black dolls, and she loved on her white doll because my grandmother made such a difference in the color of the dolls. You
Wow.
know, so it is passed on. My mom, where she from, only God knows. But even in our community, you know, we have a saying: if you're darker than a paper bag, you know, there. I know a guy. His mother forbid him to date the love of his life because she was darker than a paper bag,
Wow.
and that's still prevalent today.
It
Amazing.
is. It's very
And it's
prevalent.
so sad. It minimizes us to a color.
Right.
And the challenge about colorism is that the very core essence of us is seen through our color. We can change if we have bad eyes, we can get glasses. We can change our teeth. If our teeth are bad, we can get implants, we can get dentures. But we cannot change our color. And so it leaves a little girl like me who went through what I went through saying, what can I do? I can't change my color. And
Mm.
Right.
most so people are stuck in place. What can I do? I can't change my color, but I can accept that God made me this color for a reason.
Come on.
Yes. Yes.
Everything with Him for a reason,
So if we are going through our lives and
you
not
know. And the
seeing
goal becomes, how
ourselves,
can I
I'm
empower?
sorry. If we're going through our lives and not seeing ourselves as beautiful, not
I
seeing
love what you're
ourselves as
doing, Dr.
as
Karen.
attractive, how is that going to affect us from the mental health perspective as far as self-esteem and depression? Can you speak a little bit on that?
Hmm. Well, I have
Are you there, Dr.
I have
Kathy?
a
Yeah.
lot of
Mm.
clients who have
So
struggled
it can
with
affect
their
your
self-image.
mental health in the
It's
sense that many
sure
times when we're
you'll
not
never
feeling
get
attractive,
people and go to because
when we're not feeling attractive, we don't present our best selves many times because
you break.
we feel that we're not worthy, or we feel that we're not able to really be out in the world and be considered
Mhm.
attractive. Are you there, Dr. Kathy? You can go ahead.
I, I'm here. It's breaking up some, but one thing that I want to say is that so many times when the core people, the people who you came from, if you're biologically birthed or they chose to adopt you, if those people do not embrace you and build you, then you will struggle all of your life trying to find that place of approval, of validation.
Mm.
And sometimes it's not until later in our 40s and 50s that we become connected to God
Mm.
and He validates us. There's
Mm.
nothing better than God validating you.
Mhm.
But when you have people who are assigned to love you, we are an empty slate when we're born. Empty. There's nothing written on us. What it becomes written on us is who we come in contact with.
Yeah.
So if I come in contact with a mother that hated herself, that hated her color, she's going to write some of the same things on me unless
Mm.
there's been an intervention to help her feel good about herself. All she knows is to pass on what she knows. But when
Wow.
there's a change and an intervention in there, and we recognize that God gives us children to love, to nurture, and to build. In fact, all people that come across our path to be built. We're supposed to be building them. We're supposed to be telling them what's valuable, what's good. All of us have something God has given us. Any stranger can put you down. Any stranger can criticize you. So those who love us, they have a God-given assignment to build and encourage.
That's very good.
How can I
That's
help you feel better about yourself?
that's very good. And Dr. Moore, I think it goes in the scriptures where it says, love your neighbor as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe one of the challenges is you have people that don't love themselves. So
That's
they end
right.
up loving
Mhm.
people how they love themselves. So if they don't love them, they're not going to love
Mhm.
you. And that I think is so, Dr. Moore, I really love this show because it gets to the root cause. And then this is a question a person asked me last week. They said, Dr. Rivers, what is acceptable? What is the actual standard for good? Because really people don't know what it is, so they actually never arrive at it. Does that make sense, Dr. Brown?
Mm.
If they don't have
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because every no, go ahead.
No, I know.
No,
No.
go ahead, Dr. Rivers.
What I was saying is if there's a target like if a person says like there is no real standard, when you hit this, you're good because man, there are people that are gonna always hate on you and people that are always gonna love you. So it's almost like, how do you define what's good?
Well, my answer for that is only thing that's good is God,
Come on.
and God has the approval stamp.
Yes.
Because in every community, you have a definition of good.
Uh-huh.
And every community is different than the next community.
Uh-huh.
So what's good in my community may be mediocre in somebody else's community.
Mm-hmm.
So we will never achieve people's standard of good.
Come on.
The only one we should seek to appease the standard of good is God. He says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. The day that scripture registered in my heart, I never looked back on color. I never looked back on size. I never looked back on hair length. I never looked back on any of the negative things that have been spoken over me, because God said, I am awesomely made. I'm wonderful. And because of purpose, being made the way that He made me. And I will seek that out. That's my goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So why do you think that Black and beautiful still seem to be contradictions in our society? That when we say Black and beautiful, that Black, the word Black and the word beautiful seem to still be contradictions within our society, that we're not really looking at Black as being beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think are some of these reasons that this is going on within our society, and that Black women in particular, I believe that colorism does affect Black men in certain instances also, but specifically when we're talking about beauty and Black being beautiful and Black women being beautiful, but we're not equating that Black as being dark, that we're not equating that with being beautiful. It's still a contradiction, still here in our society. Either one of you want to speak.
I think it's a contradiction in our society. Because, I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, you can go ahead, Dr. Kathy.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Kathy.
I think it's a contradiction in our society because we are in a transition of people waking up. And so you have some people who are woke and embrace natural Black beauty. You have some people who still feel that natural Black beauty has to be altered. It is only Black beauty when you paint the face with colors. It's only Black beauty when you pushing on to light up a little bit. It's only Black beauty when it's got to fit the standard of the cosmetic industry. But when we truly embrace pure Black beauty, we accept ourselves as we are. We have spent years, hundreds of years, being criticized for our hips, being criticized for our curves, being criticized for our beautiful skin, but at the same time, people would say, oh, you're beautiful, but how am I beautiful when I've heard nothing but negative reports? So it comes back to, what do you believe about yourself? Because if you take in these negative reports, you're going to walk with your head down. But if you take in God's word, that He has a purpose for your life, that your steps are ordered, that you are wonderfully made, you can raise your head up to the highest and stand with any king or queen, because that's what we are. We are kings and queens. But until a personal revelation, people can continue to repress us and suppress us.
Yeah, that's a truth, because what happens is this, in my just opinion, anytime we get outside of the boundaries of how God made us. See, I don't believe anyone in the world can give me confidence but God. There isn't a system or a structure. They may tell me I'm good, and that like example, I was a basketball player. I was good one day, went to the next level. I was average and not good as a player. And systems of the world fleed. So you may enter in good here, and then when you aren't good, you're not considered the entity. But when I was good, I was everything. And I really believe there's a false standard that's set on. I said, who can validate my good? Only God. There isn't a structured system, because if we really understand God and we bring it back to truth, it says God's gift makes room for you. So Dr. Brown, I really believe you're hitting it right. It's coming back to the image of God, because these old systems are embedded. And all my years, I really haven't seen anyone break through other than people that know who they are in God and say, guess what? You aren't my value system. God is.
Absolutely. And we have to be able to really tap into that. And we've said that so many times. We have to be able to tap in who we know we are in God, and the fact that we are made in the image of God, which means that fearfully and marvelously made, that we have to really understand about who we are in God, and that our beauty comes from, a lot of our beauty comes from within. But we've got to be sure that we really look at ourselves and see ourselves as the beautiful people God has made us to be. And until we do that, in a lot of instances, we're going to still walk in inferiority. We're going to still walk in complexes about our color, until we really decide that we're going to change the narrative, and that we are going to understand who we really are in God, and be able to go beyond just our skin color. But so many of us have been traumatized by what has taken place in our lives, that for some of us, it's really been very difficult to get past that hurt and that trauma. And that's one of the things that I think is so important in regard to mental health, that we've got to really be willing to, first of all, understand where that trauma came from. And we've got to be able to address it, and be able to say, okay, whoever that was that said that to me, we've got to be able to know where it came from, to be able to address it, and then be able to move beyond that hurt and that pain. And the thing about it is, I think some of us aren't even always aware that we have been traumatized, and that we are still walking around, like I said earlier, with those decades of hurt and trauma. And so we've got to really begin to look at, okay, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling when I look in the mirror? Because one of the things that we have to understand is, why, when you look in the mirror, why are you allowing someone else to dictate to you what your beauty is? But see, again, it comes back to that hurt and that trauma that has not been addressed. And we've got to be willing to be able to open up about the hurt and the trauma that, like I said, I know for me, I walked around for decades from the hurt and trauma from childhood of someone that told me I was too dark. So I walked around with that hurt and that trauma for decades, until I was able to really come to know who I am in God. And until we get to that place, but you've got to also tap into the fact
Well,
that you do have hurt. Go ahead, Dr. Kathy.
you know, the reason the trauma lasts so long is because for every negative comment that is spoken to you about your color, it takes 10 positive comments to wipe out one negative comment. And we do not get that. So those negative comments get on us and lay on us, and it becomes a mantle of the negative. And that has to be undone. And it takes time to undo it.
Right. Right. It does take time. It does
Yeah.
take time. And you have to, you know, and I know that you know this, Dr. Kathy, but you know, they say that the first step in getting healed is admitting you have a problem. And we've got to be able to admit that we're suffering and that we have a problem and that we're in pain. We've got to be willing to admit that, and we've got to be willing to get help for it. And we've got to be willing to, if we cannot seem to resolve it within ourselves, we've got to be willing to talk about it and willing to get help.
And it takes a lot of courage.
It does.
It takes courage to go back and confront women that you love, women that were supposed to love you, and they loved you, but they still caused some damage.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
This is so powerful because you have to visit the like scene of the crime, and then one of the issues that I see, and when I travel the world, is things change in processes. So everything isn't an overnight fix. And I think at times people negate that there's a process to walk into a new mindset. It doesn't just happen overnight.
Right.
And see, and then the even in my opinion, even in spirituality, when you treat a woman as a second class citizen in spirituality, that's another way of perpetuating less than. Does that make sense? In most religions of the world, women are considered second class. So even as you're going for help spiritually, sometimes there's still even a stigma on that, and that just causes the effects to be more.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've got to be willing to come out of all of that, though. We've got to be willing to go through that curse word process. We've got to be willing to go through the process. And unfortunately, so often we don't want to go through the process. We don't want to go through, so many people would just rather be in pain than go through the process of healing. But we've got to be able to decide that we're going to go through that process and that we are valuable and we're valuable enough to be healed and go through that process that we need to go through to get to the healing through the word, through worship, through counseling, through conversation. We've got to do everything that is going to take to get to that place of healing.
100%, because this
it's
is
definitely a fight.
Yeah, and this is what I say. I'd say, like, what are you healed from, and what are you healed to? You see, there has to be, where are we taking you in the healing?
Right.
Does that make sense? Because sometimes I see people that don't know where they're going in the healing process. And the actual next time something happens again, they go right back to ground zero. And I'm saying, no. There's a what am I healed from, and what am I healed to?
What are we healed from, and what are we healed to?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And we've got to be able to change those internalized scripts that we keep repeating to ourselves over and over and over again, that in those internal scripts that keep telling us that you're not this or you're not that, or you don't measure up, you're not valuable, you're not beautiful. We continue to play those scripts over and over and over again, and have to understand about, we say it all the time, that you've got to change your mind. You've got to be willing to change the conversation that's going on internally. You've got to be willing to change your mind and develop a mindset that says,
That's right.
I am beautiful, I am powerful, I am fearfully and marvelously made, I am the image of God. And until we get to that place also where we're not repeating that same thing that we heard over and over and over again, change our mind, change our conversation, change our life. That's really where a lot of where it has to be. So when we start talking about colorism and depression, Dr. Kathy, if you can kind of shed some light on the depression that comes through colorism and how we can begin to move beyond the depression and those mental, emotional feelings that we experience every day, how we can begin to, from a counseling perspective, begin to move through that. Are you there? Oh, I think
I'm here. It's breaking up.
Yeah. It's breaking up bad on my end too.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay. You can see me? Okay.
Yes.
ma'am.
Yeah.
It's breaking up pretty bad. I couldn't hear.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I was asking about depression. Can you speak on depression and mental health and colorism? You couldn't hear me?
Yeah.
Say it
No.
again?
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So, go ahead, Dr. Rivers.
Good. I think it's important that I mean, how to walk out of one thing into another season, and I really believe it's important that we help people to create vehicles, because many times in life you're going to ride out of one season into another one,
Until it's in.
and that vehicle, if we can give, I mean, this is just my thoughts. I'm not the professional in this, but what I'm saying, if we can give people tools to work through now, at all phases in life, like example, as you get older, there's different discriminations against the elderly. There's all these vehicles that we have to create, in my opinion, a mechanism of tools to help people define themselves. And then in times in life, we have to redefine ourselves when you go to a different level. So there's all these different ages and stages that have to be redefined, and no one, and hear this, that's why in the Word of God, in actually Romans 12:2, it says, be not conformed to the world,
right,
but be transformed, which means change the form you're in by the renewing of your mind.
Right.
Absolutely. And we've got to be willing to take the necessary steps to do that. And we've got to tap into how we're going to be able to do that and get the help that we need to do that. Because when we're not transforming and we're not moving into our best life and being able to be the people God has created us to be, we're stuck still with what happened to us and what we can't overcome, and we just can't seem to move forward. But if we decide that, it takes a decision and a conversation. You have to make a decision that I'm no longer going to be stuck here. I'm no longer going to feel that my skin is an issue for me, that I'm going to boldly go forth, and this is who I am, and this is who I'm going to be, and I'm going to move into the world as the beautiful woman that I am. And you've got to be able to to make a decision and then have a conversation. You have a conversation not only with yourself, but you've got to be able to have a conversation with other people to let them know that, yes, I am beautiful. Yes, I am here. I'm going to be here, and that I'm going to walk in the beauty that God has created for me, and that it's no longer going to be an issue for me, and it would be best if it's not an issue for you. That's where we've got to get to.
Go ahead.
You know,
Absolutely.
if it's an issue for you, I can't help you, but it would be best if it's not an issue for you, because, you know, I've said before, you don't know who walked in the room. You don't know who the person is with the dark skin who may have the answer to your problem, but you've decided that because their skin is dark, that they aren't valuable. Their input is not valuable. They're not beautiful. You don't know what you're missing out on. So I'm coming with my beautiful, bold self, and that issue is your issue. It's not mine anymore. You were saying something, Dr. Kathy? I think she's frozen.
Yeah. And you know what, Dr. Moore, I really believe that you know, in my life, it's been so it has to be a whole cultural mind shift, because when you first of all, knowing who you are in God, that's a process too. You're not just because all the mentorship we get from life that just says this, and this, and then as you're growing up in actually times where you have to be candid, things have not always been equal for everyone.
Right.
And that's the conversation people don't want to have. And I'm going, so until we have a conversation and say, great, okay, this did happen, and now we have to get to a place where we're looking at, great, okay, what can really stop me? And this is why I really believe, Dr. Moore, when they took God out of education, when they took God out of, I'm going, that is a key instrument, because what happens is actually policy can beat you into submission. Policy. So this is why I tell people, if you're gonna, it's in the Word of God, but there's an unintended consequence on whoever mistreats, they're mistreated. And again, I'm talking about, guys, I see this with black, white. I see it with continents that are all black, continents that are all brown. Again, I'm the right one to have this conversation with, because it's really everywhere.
Right.
Am I making sense? So,
yes.
so at some point, my belief is, until we get God content into people's systems, this is why on my chats, I'm building the image of God in people. I'm building the image of God. And you know what? And Dr. Moore, as you can see, you know, for some people that watch, it's pretty effective for them. But this is how hard we have to go at helping people understand who they are.
Absolutely. We've got to be able to help each other. And that's, you know, that's Dr. River, where I know that you're going to talk about civility, but that's important. That's where the civility comes in, because we have to care about other people as well as ourselves. And when we can, not until we get healed, can we help other people get healed. And so when you are deciding for yourself that I'm going to be healed, then it is your responsibility to go out there and help other people be healed. If I, as a Black woman, a dark-skinned Black woman, have been able to be healed, it is my responsibility, and that's what the Color of Beautiful is about. It is my responsibility to go out there and help other dark-skinned women, light-skinned women understand how beautiful they are and help them heal. Because if we don't do that, then okay, I get healed. That's wonderful. That's wonderful for me. But what about the other people that I come in contact with? What about caring about the other women who have walked the same path that I've walked, who've dealt with the hurt and trauma? Okay, I'm healed. And so what am I doing now? What am I giving back? We've got to also go back, and we've got to be able to understand that this is a healing that has to take place across all cultures, and that is our responsibility to initiate this healing with other cultures.
Man, Dr. Moore, this is why I love your show so much, because it's bringing the issues to it's putting them on the table. And what happens, I believe, when we understand that we need each other. God
Yes.
put us here, 7.8 billion people that have gifts to help each other. So at some point, man, I got to go back and help you, because the gift in you is the gift that may save my life.
Right.
And you know what, Dr. Moore, one thing I was thinking about, every genocide that's ever taken place in the world, they had to dehumanize the people that they wanted to make extinct. They were, in one country, they were called cockroaches. In another country, they were called other names. So it is our job never to let people be dehumanized ever again.
Right. Right. Absolutely. We've got to begin to see ourselves as the powerful, beautiful, wonderful people that God has made us. And it's our responsibility to do that. Like you said, Dr. Rivers, we cannot depend on any systems to do that for us. We have to be willing to dig deep. We've got to be willing to go into the trenches. We've got to be willing to make it happen for ourselves, in our communities, in other communities all across the globe. It's not going to happen. The government is not going to do this for us. Looking for somebody else to do this for us, they are not going to do this for us. So it's something we have to be willing to do ourselves. Absolutely.
And that's what you're doing with this show here. You know, when Dr. Moore, when you really find out who you are in God, see, the word of God says, where there is no vision, the people perish. I can tell you, I was talking to a famous congressman one day, and I said, what is the issue in South Chicago? Guess what his words were? No vision. So I can end up drawing these things back to biblical lacks, biblical principles. I mean, where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is vision, people can thrive. And one of the things that I've learned in my life is, man, Dr. Moore, I want to go deep for a second, okay? The only one that can really define my standard is God.
Right.
God, because he made me.
Right.
So when I learn how to tap into what God says, oh yeah, I'm still going to walk through things, and I've walked through things in life, but I can, as I have a vision, if you work around me, the word is this: keep moving. Do you know how many times in life people try to define me, try to put me in a box, but the vision of God keeps me moving. And I think a large part of helping people walk through colorism, getting to find out who they are in God. And that's why I'm so grateful that we have a show that isn't ashamed to talk about God as the answer.
Right.
Dr. Moore, this is beautiful.
It is. It's an awesome, awesome opportunity. Dr. Kathy, are you still there with us? No? Okay.
No, you got to have her back, because this is
Yes.
too important.
Yes. Well, we will definitely have to have her. Definitely have to have her back. And she had a little trouble connecting on the computer, so she had to use her phone. But we're gonna work it out, and we're definitely gonna have her come back and talk to us again about the issue of mental health and colorism. Dr. Rivers, if you want to have some closing remarks for us.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that we have to do in this world is and again, you understand, I always come from a biblical worldview. We have to find a way to help every individual understand their uniqueness is where their value is, not the ability to conform. They have an individual, a unique gifting from God. When I found that, Dr. Moore, my life changed.
Yes.
So we have to help people realize that God didn't make you to be a copy. He made you to be an original. So how do we help people embrace their originality? That's our assignment.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Kathy, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but we so appreciate you being here today, and I will connect with you, and we'll do this again. Dr. Rivers, Sir, Dr. Rivers. So thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate you being here with us today, and we will always continue to walk in what we need to do. Thank you so much for your encouragement and for being able to be here today and have this talk about mental health and colorism. Thank you so much, sir.
And here there's
Yes.
always more in store.
Always.
Karen Moore.
Always. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. It was a wonderful conversation in spite of the little technical difficulties, but we are just always so glad to be here and to be able to talk with you and be able to, go through what we need to go through and able to do this colorism issue, talk about colorism and the things that go on with colorism. I thank you so much for being here for Beautiful Color Conversations. Next Sunday, we're going to have Dr. Sunny and Linda Laura with us next Sunday. We're so excited about that. They're going to be with us here next Sunday on Beautiful Color Conversations. And I thank you all so much for being here. And just remember to just love on each other and begin to appreciate the beauty that God has given you. Each of us have beauty that God has given us. And if you need to seek additional help, please do that. There's nothing wrong with getting help or getting support in order to move forward in your life. On Friday, I'm doing a Love the Skin You're In seminar. You can get information. It's thecolorofbeautifulskin.eventbrite.com. Come and join me and let's talk about how beautiful our skin is, that seminar, and just continue to understand your beauty and walk in your beauty and be the beauty that God has fearfully and marvelously made you to be. God bless you. Until next time, certainly be blessed. Thank you.